Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 8 of the anime series Koitu. So, this episode was like the living embodiment of those classic actors' masks of laughing and crying from old Hollywood, acting on the stage and everything like that. Because the first half of this episode was just raucous and had me laughing and chuckling and smiling and grinning my ass off. There's this definitive transition into just all out and out heartache by the end that I was getting misty eyed, that kind of thing. I mean, it had everything. This was a thoroughly enjoyable episode, thoroughly engaging. And it began with this just adorable sort of scenario playing out between Najima and Nisaka, where Nisaka wants no part. He's decided he wants no part of this gender swapped play of Romeo and Juliet. When he finds out he's going to have to wear this sort of old Victorian, ball gown and wear like a fake bust and everything like that, he's like, there's no way in hell I want this kind of attention drawn to me and everything like that. And Najima is just, he's giving chase after him, trying to persuade him to reconsider because of how much he wants him to do it and how much everyone else is depending upon him to do it. And, Najima puts his hand on him and he smacks his hand away. And then they run into his father for all intents and purposes. And I'm just like, WTF, this is his father, air quotes? I mean, they look like they're the same exact age. It doesn't look like there's any age gap between them at all. And what's with his father, like the overgrown Mo Howard bangs over his eyes and everything. But he's like, I guess they treat him to dinner or something like that, or vice versa. And you have Nisaka being very ornery and talking about, you don't have dessert first. That's disrespectful to the dessert. You got to have your meal and then you have dessert. He wants the parfait. Whatever like that. And the father, for his part, he's trying to school his son, telling him, you don't hit your friends, that kind of thing. And here is Najima losing his crap, breaking down under the pressure, trying to keep it cool between father and son here. And he's like, maybe Nisaka's good looks will rub off on me because, I was being a little forceful. And when he smacked my hand away, it was probably my own good fortune that he did so. Just like face palm city. And here the father's laughing. I'm laughing. But it was so freaking adorable after the fact when, again, the chase ensues. And Najima is trying once again to just really impress upon Isaka how important this is to everyone, how important it is to him. And he starts thinking about how closely cut the parallels are between that story and the current socio-political scenario with the arranged marriages and everything like that, how forcible that is to everyone. As was this love that these two characters were trying to grapple onto, and they were willing to, lose their lives for it and everything, depending on the perspective, of that story you have. And at first, it doesn't seem like Nisaka's impressed by this at all, but in the way that Najima starts talking about it, it's something that he can sort of, you have to sort of be beholden to the impressions we have of Nisaka, going back to that lip lock when, Najima was passed out in the classroom and Nisaka bent down and kissed him. You have to kind of consider him having an interest in Najima one way or the other. And this is what eventually wins him over. This is what eventually persuades him, because what Najima is dictating is the exact life that, Nisaka has had to lead, basically. No one knows, for all intents and purposes, that he's homosexual, presumably. At least the majority of people don't know. It's arguable whether his father even knows. And here he can never be with this person who's standing right in front of him, And there is that unrequited love, that unanswerable love. And what is it like to have to live your day-to-day life confronted with that? And it completely spells out to Nisaka. His eyes go wide and he realizes, this is exactly what I have before me. And it was adorable as all hell when he goes to walk away. She was like, I'm so glad you consider me a friend and everything like that, and you tolerate me. He's like, no, I don't tolerate you. He's acting like he's keeping him at arm's length, but he smiles to himself because right then and there, Nisaka was won over by the scenario as Najima had outlined it. Here is Najima, this person Nisaka cares and has an interest in, and he wants to grant him that wish, that acceptance. I think arguably It was Nisaka deciding to go through with this play because it meant something to Najima, the person he has feelings for. He would get happy because he's making Najima happy, that kind of thing. And so, of course, you have that playful banter going on between them, like, "Oh my God, did I see you smile? Is it gonna rain tomorrow?" And Nisaka's like, "No, no, no, I didn't smile." It was so freaking adorable, and I was grinning ear to ear. But then, of course, the other leg drops in my mind about the tragedy of that scenario, that is not going to happen. Rorina, Takasaki, they both stand a hell of a better chance of getting with Najima than Nisaka ever does. And it's going to end badly. And it's so sad for that. And then that, again, mentally, that transitions so well into the other half of the episode where you have Takasaki finally revealing all, crushing under the weight of everything she's been through, of all the feelings she's been harboring for Najima for so long, for years upon years at this point. And she ends up outlining the entirety of that scenario, what her every waking moment has been like, to have him at arm's length, not be able to confess to him, not really be sure of what their futures would behold for each other, being separated, finding her way back to him, and how exciting that was, and all these things. And my first thought is, Jesus, if we could all be so lucky to find someone who cared about us the way she cares for him, the way she outlines how much she's in love and smitten with him. We should all be so lucky. I only wish I could find someone like that in my life. But it's such a heartbreaking scenario because I was talking very much about the last couple of episodes where it seemed like Najima and Rorina both, it seems like both of them are aligning finally toward each other. They're finally developing those feelings and starting to recognize the earliest perceivable framework of their minds becoming more accepting to each other. And it goes back to that question of their compatibility. It seems like the most natural, well-fitted couple in the long term, because of compatibility, is Najima and Rorina. But you cannot dismiss, out of sight, out of mind, the passion and the love. It seems like it's become more than just puppy love. It's become more than just a passing thing in their youths between Najima and Takasaki. At least on Takasaki's side. It still arguably could be the hornies going on with Najima and everything. But the way he embraces her, it's almost reeling him back in again, away from Rorina and back toward Takasaki. I'm not a shipper at all, when it comes to these character matchups and everything like that. And I would be predominantly leaning toward Najima and Nisaka with the first half of the episode. But I'm sitting there and I'm wallowing remorseful in the tragedy of here are these two characters who, for all intents and purposes, for what they know about the waking world, the way society is surrounding them, they cannot be together. And again, it's a great parallel going on with the whole Romeo and Juliet thing. They're living it in the here and now, much as Nisaka arguably is, if he does have feelings for Najima. Here, it's even closer because you have Takasaki and Najima. They've been able to get close. They've been able to express to each other how they feel, and it can never be. Everyone surrounding them is telling them 6 ways to Sunday. It's not possible. It cannot happen. And it's cut from the same cloth of that story. It's so compelling and engaging. And it was just breaking my ever-loving heart, where I was smiling at the cuteness, the kawaiiness of the first half of the episode of Najima pining for Nisaka, trying to win him over, and finally doing so, finally persuading him successfully to come back and be a part of this play because Nisaka wants to make this person he has feelings for happy. At least that's my speculation, that's my assumption. You go from there to this really just sad scenario of Takasaki, if she is to be believed, who has harbored this love and this interest in him for so long, and it's genuine, dedicated love from the heart. It's not just lust for her. It's arguable, as I say, whether that's the case for Najima, whether it's lust or love. But for her, it seems very plain stated that it is out-and-out romance. She wants desperately to be with him, and the crushing blow is right there for all time, that it's probably not going to be achievable. And so, even when this show has had down episodes that I didn't really engage with, that, sort of floundered for me and just seemed not as entertaining as the more engaging ones, like this episode was, like the first episode was in the series, even with those sort of wonkier episodes, it's that through line, that overhanging question: whom is going to end up with whom? How is this going to end? Is it going to end in heartbreak? Is it going to end in tragedy? Is someone going to die? Is someone going to commit suicide? How is this going to play out? Who is going to finally be able to achieve happiness, if any of them at all? And that overhanging, burdening question is what keeps me watching. But the stellar over-the-topness of it is episodes like this, where I can laugh with these characters, I can relate to these characters, I can have my heart damn well breaking for the fact that Hisaka will never be able to have a relationship with Najima, whom he probably wants to have a relationship with. And Takasaki, for all intents and purposes, it doesn't seem like that is achievable either, and it's breaking her ever-loving heart. It's breaking my heart, sort of in answer to that, vicariously because of that. And then the whole aspect of Rarina, how I'm just waiting for her heart to be broken in the next episode or something. She's going to witness like Najima kissing Takasaki or something like that, embracing whatever it is, and it's going to just completely make that whole thing topsy-turvy as well. Even though it seemed like they were making amends with the letters being exchanged, with sending her the tickets to come and attend the play, and it seemed like, Najima was warming to her and finally becoming aware of the fact that he does have some level of feelings for her, and then probably vice versa. It's just like, it seems like every other turn there's going to be some level of heartache and heartbreak, and I'm endeared to all three of these potential love interests that are Rarina, Takasaki, and Hisaka when it comes to Najima. And I don't want to put any of them above the other. It's so sad that they can't all be at the same time. Life doesn't work that way. It's much more complex than all of that. And so I don't know where this is going to go. All I know is I enjoyed this episode. I thought Hisaka and Najima were adorable together. Getting that smile out of Hisaka just had me grinning. And then I was very much misty-eyed when the other leg finally dropped, with Takasaki revealing all about how much she's been pining for him and for how long. And it's just like, man, So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this particular episode of Koito So, if you've seen it as well, if you were moved by it, if you thought it was adorable, that whole relationship going on, the dynamic as it was being explored between Najima and Hisaka in this episode. If you are more aligning toward Takasaki or Rarina, do you ship either one of them? Were you feeling the heartache and the heartbreak that was going on when Takasaki was revealing all? Are you worried and concerned for Rarina finding out that that is still a thing, where she might actually finally bringing herself about to warming to Najima and vice versa and all that kind of stuff? Always love having that conversation. And otherwise it'll be pretty much it for me on this one. This video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.